Hey everybody. Hey everybody, it's Kristianna Mrjenovich, your second chance queen, and tonight we have the absolute privilege of interviewing someone super special. Tonight we are going to be interviewing Lisa Bennett. Lisa Bennett is the first ever Ms Universal Petite Australia 2025. Lisa Bennett is a queen redefining what it means to be strong and confident. Through her platform, She Dared to Love Herself, Lisa inspires women to embrace self-love and prioritize their well-being over people-pleasing. After surviving open heart surgery, she is on a powerful journey of self-discovery and resilience. Using her story to motivate others to care for themselves both physically and emotionally, Lisa is a proud advocate for the petite community, proving that height is no barrier to achieving greatness. As an emergency responder in a male-dominated industry of mining, Lisa is breaking stereotypes and barriers, proving that petite is strong and powerful. Lisa is on a mission to help others unlock their full potential and lead fulfilling, empowered lives. Please join me in welcoming, all the way from Australia on the other side of the globe, Lisa Bennett. I would love to start by, if you could give me your most prominent second chance story, the first one that comes to mind if someone asks you about the biggest second chance in your life. Tell me about that in your own words.
Of course. So back in 2021, I had to go to open heart surgery. I was born with a heart defect, so I had surgery when I was about 4 months old, and then grew up going through checks and everything like that. And so I didn't know I was going to have heart surgery at some point, but they were always saying, in your 50s, in your 60s, you don't need to worry about it. And then I had my last checkup before then. They were like, something's not right here. Let's just keep an eye on it and put you down on the list for heart surgery because it will need to happen at some point. And then boom, COVID hit, our friendly friend COVID, and I had to get pushed back because I was elective. And so, all that craziness happened. Then I had my usual checkup about October 2021. And they said, well, get you checked out, make sure everything's okay. So if we need to leave it, we can leave it another year or so and not have to worry about it. Then I did my test and they said, yep, all good. You're the same. We don't need to get into it straight away, but you're still on the list. So I was still on the waiting list. I was the next one in line. They said, yep, come over to Victoria. I have to fly across the other side of the country for it. Had my surgery. It all went well. When I came out of the surgery, when I was in ICU, the surgeon came up to my mother, who was with me, and said that if we had waited a couple of weeks more, it probably would have been a fatal case. So it was expected to happen, but it was, at the end of the day, was a very close call. So I had my brush with death. So it was just craziness, and that definitely opened my eyes to many things and gave me a second chance.
That is terrifying. I'm so glad that you're here. I cannot
Yes.
imagine. As someone who also has a heart defect, mine is very minor. I won't need surgery for it, but it was on and off throughout my childhood, something that they watched, and it usually resolves itself before you get to adulthood, and mine has not resolved. So it's just something that they keep an eye on, kind of, but it's not to be concerned. But your heart is something that's very scary. You definitely can't live without that. So I can sympathize to how that must have brought up big emotions. How did that affect your mental health at that point? Was there any sort of shock with finding out how close you were to potentially not being here anymore?
Yes, it definitely put a strain on my mental health. The mental health side of things was the longest of the recovery. I remember being told by the nurse who came and looked after me a week after, saying, your heart's fixed. There's no issue with your heart now. It's the mental side that needs to recover. Because I wasn't able to lift my arms for about 6 weeks afterwards, wasn't able to drive, wasn't able to bend down and pick things up. So it was very constricting and frustrating that I couldn't do the basic things that I wanted to do. And finding out that, within a month, I guess, from the last checkup to having the surgery, was at that amount of time where my heart just started to go crazy, where it did have a point where I was going to rupture in that amount of space, or has it been developing over the time? I do not know. So it definitely put a shock to the system. It definitely put a shock to my whole life and what I do now. And it was a real struggle to get around that mentally. And that was definitely the hardest part of recovery.
I can imagine. Mental is something that people don't talk about often, especially if you talk about disabilities or injuries or any of that nature. People are so quick to talk about the physical side of things, but they don't talk about how hard that mental recovery can be and how oftentimes it's worse than physical. So I think it's really important that you speak up about that and are sharing that with people, because people might be saying, "What's wrong with me? I'm fixed," but hearing that others struggle with that is really important.
Yes, I got a lot of "you don't look sick" and all those kinds of comments and stuff like that. And another part of the mental side of things was, yes, my surgery went well, but it wasn't the surgery that I wanted. I had to get my backup surgery. So I am now on lifelong medication. I got to eat what I eat and drink, and that was not what I wanted. I wanted something else, but unfortunately, the surgeon opened me up and said, I can't do what we wanted. I have to go to the backup surgery. So now I have a mechanical valve, which is not what I wanted. And finding out, I'm on lifelong medication now, and it sort of feels like I've gone backwards, so to speak. So I was not sick, and now I have to take lifelong medication was a bit of a shock to the system. And that was the mental strain. Hearing my heart tick, because my heart does tick because of the mechanical valve, that is something that I probably am still not over, because you can hear it sometimes when it's very, very quiet. And, that was a struggle in itself. And I was saying things like, I regret getting the surgery. I wish I never did the surgery. And I would get comments like, at least you're alive. At least you're alive. Would you rather be dead? Of course I don't. It's not that I'd rather be dead, but it was a struggle to say what I was thinking mentally. It's like, just because I am alive and I'm grateful I'm alive doesn't take away the grief that I lost something. I felt like I lost something. And that was the things that people could not understand when I was trying to say to them, my mental health is struggling right now because of my surgery. So that was a major uphill battle.
That relates to something I posted just not long ago. Might have just been a couple days ago, actually. I posted something about how grief is not always related to death. You can grieve
Yes.
other things. You can grieve relationship changes or personality changes, or, loss of homes with a lot of the natural disasters that are going on. You brought up an amazing point that you were grieving life as you knew it, essentially, and the health that you had, even though you didn't realize it at the time. So that's a very valid point. I think people don't recognize grieving circumstances enough. People understand if you lose a family member or a pet and you're grieving, but if you're grieving something else, they don't get it. So I think it's really important that you said those key words too, because that is something that people need to hear. And I love hearing those things because there's somebody out there that needs to hear that. And you said it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that I felt grief. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So now one of the questions I normally ask is, what is your catalyst for becoming resilient? I think we know what your catalyst for becoming resilient was, but is there anything unexpected, I guess, that came out of that has created resiliency in you in a way that maybe you wouldn't have expected?
Yes, certainly. I feel like that my job has taken a different turn that I wasn't expecting it to be. I work up in the mines, and when I had my surgery and I went back to work, I was thinking, how can I turn this into a positive? How can I turn this whole experience into something good? And I had a surge of wanting to help people in any way that I can. And I was looking through my job, how can I do this, apply this to my job? And so I signed up to be an emergency response member. So what emergency response is, like, we get called out to bushfires, car crashes, people who have fallen from heights, confined spaces, and medical things. And I signed up for that. I'm part of the team that does save people from cars and stuff like that. And it's something that I probably would have never done otherwise. I'm a short woman, petite woman, not strong, got no muscles. How am I supposed to get a car door open and rip someone out? But I had a surge to join it. And I spoke to the commanding officers up there, and they were really behind me in being part of this team. I've been a part of this team for about a year now, and I've done a few medical things. I've just recently, last week, had to go fight a bushfire, and it was insane. And I did my Cert 3 course. I had to do a grueling Cert 3 course of all the things that we had to do, and I passed that with flying colours. And so my job has taken such a left field, left road into what I do up there. Being a petite woman, I've got a team behind me who encourage me to do it, and yeah, it's just changed my job aspects tremendously.
Love that, because I feel like you got a second chance at life and you have embodied being a second chance. You're like, I got a second chance. I'm going to go out there. And now you're fighting brush fires and saving people and emergency response. So that is amazing. That is definitely the definition of taking a negative and turning it into a positive. And I love hearing you say petite, because I would love to hear about your title. Tell me a little bit about your title with the petite system.
So I came across the petite system on Pageant Planet. I actually wasn't planning on entering a pageant, had plans of retiring, but I came across it and I saw it and I was like, this looks like a great opportunity. There hasn't been an Australian representative yet. So myself and my sister Queen Leah, who's now the Mrs Universal Petite Australia, is going with me. And we are both petite, small women, and who just want to make a difference. So we signed up for it, and it's been nothing short of incredible.
I love the play on words, nothing short of incredible. As someone who's 5'4" myself and of petite stature, I often, look up at the women in pageantry, as I'm sure you can relate to. So it's a very awesome title. And I love in your bio, you talk about proving that, short doesn't mean you're not strong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. And I love what you're doing with that title. Do you have any special plans with the petite title?
At the moment, I would really love to bring the attention to the Australian pageant community for this pageant. There are a lot of petite girls in the Australian pageant community. I think it's wonderful that there is a pageant that's solely for petite women to be celebrated. I don't feel like I've ever gotten resistance for my shortness, but you know, a little joke here and there about how I'm so short and stuff like that. Not a real bothersome, but when I found the petite, I was like, wow, this looks amazing. And so what I want to do with this title is to bring it to the awareness of the Australian pageant community and get people, more women who may not feel that they are worthy because of their heightness. And there has been comments made to me over the years with other women to give them a space to be heard and to be celebrated, that they can do as much as what other women can do who are of tall stature.
I love that. I think that's really important. It's something similar to what I've been working towards. Obviously, International Ms is a great system for embracing all types of women. They're a very diverse system. That's one of the things I love about it. But being a curvier woman, definitely your options are more limited in the pageantry community on where you can go and kind of find your space. So just like you're kind of pioneering for us short queens, I'm pioneering for the curvier queens and short, I guess. So it's definitely a unique an exciting feeling when you're pioneering for women like you. It's empowering in its own way because you're like, I'm gonna trailblaze and kind of set the goal and the standard. And so that's awesome that you're doing that for Australia.
Yes, I'm very excited. I've got a lot of questions already by women who are interested and curious to what the petite system is about. So I'm very excited to show my journey because I'm documenting it through my social media. And yeah, let's see where it goes and just have an amazing time while doing it.
Now, is your title the top tier, or do you get to compete internationally soon?
Yes, so in June I am going to Florida to compete at the
Yay!
international competition. It's actually on a cruise, so that is very exciting.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I entered because I was like, I need to go on a cruise. This is perfect. So yes, I
Now
am
that you
going
say
international.
that, that rings a bell because my makeup artist, actually, my hair and makeup artist, was on the Petite Cruise last year. And now that you
No
said
way.
that, I remember that. I thought that was so cool that she got to go do a pageant on a cruise ship. So you might run into her if you do. She's amazing.
Oh wow.
Her name is Catalina with Glam Genies. So if you run into Catalina, you're in good hands because she was
I'll say
on the
hi.
cruise last year. Yeah, you say hi because she was
I say
glamming
hi.
girls and she's a force. But that's amazing. That is such a cool format. Internationals on a cruise ship. Come on, that's amazing. Very
Completely new to
cool.
what I've ever done, and I was like, this is going to be amazing. So yes, that was one of the reasons why I jumped on board, so to speak.
I love that. That's like the coolest. It's kind of fitting to have internationals on probably international water cruising around is my guess. So that is a very unique. So I will definitely be rooting for Australia for the international title because I think that would be super cool that you're the first ever Australia and then winning internationals would be amazing.
That's
I'm
the
rooting for
plan.
you.
That's the plan.
That is a good plan to have. I'm totally excited about that. So, something that our platforms kind of tie together a little bit. I know you mentioned confidence in your bio, and I know my platform is all about confidence. So, I'd love to know what is your definition of confidence? If I was going to write a book and include queens sharing their definition of confidence, what would you be quoted for?
Gosh, to me, confidence is just all about believing in yourself, embracing your uniqueness, and not being afraid to shine.
I love that quote, not being afraid to shine. That is so much fun to hear everybody's individual versions of confidence because they're so different for everybody and everybody has their own little twist. So I'm super excited about that one. So I often say that women need inspiration or a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So if you were at the end of a tunnel and you were the light, what is the inspiration that you would be giving? What is the message that you want to give to inspire other women?
I would want, due to my heart surgery and everything like that, I would want to show women and tell them that to love themselves and be confident and don't let situations like heart surgery, sickness, accident, cancer to stop them from doing that. And don't let something like that happen to you before you realize that.
Something you said earlier that I'd love to kind of circle back at is you said that people said to you, you don't look sick. And I absolutely loathe that phrase.
Mm.
I have a chronic invisible illness. And when I hear that, it just kind of makes my blood boil, drives me nuts. But hearing that takes a mental toll on you. And you obviously were recovering physically as well from a major surgery. So, would you say that it was harder to rebuild your confidence from physical changes that you underwent or from mental changes that you underwent?
I feel it was a little bit of both, more on the mental side than the physical side. What the physical side helped me was because I went through such a horrible time with my body, with the surgery, my body got me through that. My body survived open heart surgery. I have the scars to prove it. And it's now changed my look at all those imperfections, all those tiger marks, all those, a little bit of jiggy here and there. It changed my viewpoint on my body. It's like, no, I do not have imperfections. My body survived, and it's made me totally see my body in a totally new light for the positive way. And with my mental side of things, the confidence after surgery definitely built more, and it was more trying to get back into the rhythm of things, as in work and stuff like that. I didn't know how strong I was going to be at work to do all my heavy lifting and everything like that. And I actually took a longer time than necessary to go back up to work because of the mental health side of things. You usually have about 4 months off work for something like that, but I took 6 months off because even though I was physically well enough to go back up to work, my cardiologist took one look at me when I was in his room, and he was like, "You're not ready to go back up to work." I was like, "No, I'm not," because I was just still getting over that whole change of life that I had to go through. How am I going to be up at work? Because I'm up at work for a few weeks at a time. What if something goes wrong? What if I run out of medication? What if I bruise myself and it's internal bleeding? So all of that fear of being up at work took its toll as well. And I just, as time went on, the confidence grew, and like, I can actually live like this now. And it was just through time and doctor's appointments and talking to people who I trusted, that confidence just built tremendously.
Something you said definitely hits home, and it's the fact that you came out of a very risky surgery, a huge life-changing surgery, and instead of it harming your confidence because you might have a new scar and you might feel and look different, it actually made you more confident and embrace those parts of your body that you may have had disdain for before. And I absolutely love that so much. And I think that's a testament to your mental strength, that you're able to turn something that might have knocked someone else's confidence down about their body and it increased yours. That takes a lot of mental strength. So kudos to you, because that is phenomenal and extremely difficult to do. And I hope that there's a woman out there that maybe changes her viewpoint on her own body because she hears you say that. That is, I think a lot of women can relate to that. And even as a mother, a lot of times when you have children, your body changes and it kind of knocks your confidence down. But hearing that viewpoint and thinking, wow, like I gave life and my body did that, and embracing those changes to your body, that could really help somebody. So I love that mindset shift. And I think like that needs to be plastered on a billboard somewhere because everybody needs to hear and see that.
Well, when I was processing going through that surgery, I semi-documented my journey through those couple of weeks of surgery on my Instagram if you go lower down enough. And one photo that I put up was actually of my scar on the Instagram, and I received a few messages, but one person in particular was a mother from the States, who came across that, and she said that she showed her 16-year-old daughter the photo and my story and everything, and she was very concerned about having surgery and having a scar. And she said that because her daughter has seen my story and that I am a pageant queen who is showing my scar to everyone, I'm not covering it up, that it's changed her mindset about her scars. The message was very humbling and very humble, and yeah, it made me feel like something good was coming out of this surgery. Like I was supposed to have this surgery for a reason and help people. And that's all I want to do.
That is so emotional. I love
Yeah.
that so much because that is just the best feeling ever when
Mm.
somebody comes and tells you that something that you're doing has changed something for them. And I cannot imagine how that must have felt hearing that. That is just heartwarming. Oh my gosh,
It's
that is
it stayed with
crazy.
me to this day. It stayed with me to this day.
I feel like when you're in pageantry and you have these platforms where you're trying to change and you're trying to raise awareness and you're trying to inspire others, there's always a message or a person that reaches out to you that sticks with you. I know I have actually a domestic violence victim who reached out to me. She was one of the first people that inspired me actually to start my podcast and to start sharing my story more, because when I got out of my abuse, I I always say I closed the chapter of that time in my life very quietly, and then I showed the love that I received from my now husband very loudly. And I used to try and like quiet myself down because I didn't want people to think like, oh, she's just showing off for social media or she's bragging or whatever. But because I was so loud about the love that I was experiencing, I had someone that messaged me and said, I just want you to know, because I saw what you've gone through and I've seen your life change, I left my abuser and I started over, and I'm now with somebody that treats me like a queen and all of these things. And when I tell you, I sobbed when I read that message. I still get emotional when I think about it too much. So I'm not going to think about it that much, but that like stuck with me. So I'm sure that kind of message has like burned itself into you and you are very fond of that memory because it's a crazy feeling.
Yes, I also get emotional when thinking about it as well. So probably should change the subject. But yeah, no, it's stayed with me, and it's also given me the drive to continue and to, I have the 16-year-old watching how many other girls are watching me now, seeing me on stage in a bikini or something like that, and showing this stuff for everyone to see. And that's what I view as the swimwear around now. It's like, I'm not the most toned or anything like that, but I have these scars and I'm not afraid to show them off. And my body is amazing with these scars because they're part of my journey.
That's so important too, to show variety, because there are so many, especially in the pageantry community, there are so many beautiful women. There are so many fit women. There are so many toned women. There are so many perfect, ideal women. And you see, like for us, I'm sure Australia has systems similarly, but for us, a huge system is Miss USA. Everybody is tall and thin and stunning, and the Miss USA girls are just, they're amazing. They're beyond amazing. But then you have someone like myself that my body would not look like that if I was in the gym 7 days a week for hours. I'm short, I'm probably perfect for the petite system because I could put 6-inch heels on and I still would not have the gazelle walk that some of those women have. So I think it's important for women like us that have these stories and have these platforms to be loud and for us to be visible, because there are women that are just not going to look like those ladies, but that doesn't mean that our value is any less. So whether it's, me on stage in a bikini as a plus size woman or you on stage with a huge scar, I think that is so much more powerful in some ways than being ideal, because it takes a lot of confidence to go out on that stage when you could be considered less than, but you're bringing yourself up to that level. Confidence makes a world of difference. So I'm so excited. That sounds terrible. I'm so excited to watch you in swimsuit, but I'm so excited to see what you do on that stage and showing your scar. That is, has it become easier with time? Has it become more of like a less nervous, more empowering feeling, or do you still get super nervous about it?
I think I do get still a little bit nervous. Like, who doesn't? Like, you want to perform well and stuff like that on stage, and hopefully you don't trip over and land on your face. But for me, it's made me more calm, if that makes sense. More calm on stage. Because I am quite a petite person, I do shake with nerves sometimes. But the difference from performing pre-surgery to post-surgery it was a major shift that I was more calm in my performance. Actually, International Ms was the first pageant after surgery. And I remember walking on that stage. Yeah, I was just calm. And I think that's also because my confidence in myself and in my performance and in my body changed dramatically. And so I think it has definitely helped me perform for the better and just be more comfortable in my own skin.
There's something about the International Ms. stage that I feel like it does that, because I experienced almost the exact same thing. I was like a poodle on crack at my first pageant that I participated in before International Ms. I was like, my energy was very nervous. It was like a chihuahua being put on a stage with a bunch of lights. And it is kind of painful to watch some of those videos, but when I hit the International Ms. stage, it was like very calm, very peaceful. I felt very at peace with my stage performance and being there. It felt very calming and grounding. And so kudos to Laura Clark in the International Ms. system, because you got something going on. If you've got two of us that are saying that it's very calming, that's a good sign.
Yeah. And to go from that to I actually won the Ms. Galaxy pageant a year or
Wow.
so ago, and that was when I won it, and that was the title that I've been doing pageantry for about 8 years, 9 years now, and that was my very first pageant system, and I had the goal to get that title, and I did. And now I'm in Universal Petite. It's just been a more calm journey, a more confident journey, and I think that was really important, which helped me to perform who I am as the queen today.
So that open heart surgery would turn you into the queen that took the titles. Not many people can say that, I bet. So that is a privilege.
Yes, it
That is
definitely has put
awesome.
myself first and definitely learnt to love myself, which is also part of my platform of the self-love. And I think just everything together just kind of comes together and created this love journey and love for my pageants, love for my job, love for myself. And it's just catapulted me into all these amazing opportunities.
I
Yeah.
absolutely adore the self love platform. So, one thing I always ask, because I teach my Confidence Crown workshops and I have developed the self method for confidence, and there's 4 letters in the self acronym, obviously, that spell out self. And I'm going to tell you those 4, and then I want you to tell me which one of those resonates the most with you. I love hearing all the different answers for this. It's so much fun for me. But S is self care prioritized, so taking care of yourself in order to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
E is exercising your skills, because practice makes confident. L is listening to positivity, because we have to learn to listen to positivity from others and ourselves in order to build confidence. And F is fake it till you make it, and you will, because some days you might not be feeling it, but if you fake it till you make it, you can pull it out and show up and show off. So, which one of those resonates the most with you?
I would have to say S, self care, because that's all about of my platform as well. When pre surgery, I did not care for myself. I put everyone first. I would like to say what I call a recovering people pleaser,
Love that.
putting people first, which is all great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, but it was at a point where I was pouring into other people's cups and not refilling myself. So I missed out on opportunities. I was miserable. I was eager to please. I was doing it for people to like me, and just it became such a miserable life. And because of my surgery, it's like I need to put myself first. I need to look after myself. Self care is very important. And because it's your life, you got to live it, and no one else is going to live it for you. So you can't walk around on eggshells with everyone. And it was just the surgery helped me see that. And I am now serving others while putting myself first. And I think that's a wonderful way to live. So self care is definitely something important and what I try to tell people.
People pleasing is, I feel like, one of the hardest things to recover from. It truly is, because when you find your self value for so long and what you can do for others, and you're just so used to living with an empty cup and still finding a way to pour into other people's, and then you have to like train yourself to put yourself first, it is. Nobody talks about how hard it is, because you
Mm.
immediately feel selfish. You're like, this is weird. You feel selfish. You feel these negative emotions when really you're just kind of balancing out from what other people are. And then there are those in your lives that are not comfortable with the boundaries that you place,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so used to you saying, yes, of course, that when you say, no, I'm sorry, I can't, they're like, so people pleasing recovery is something that I definitely think needs women like you out there being loud about that and telling other people it's okay to do that, because that has been one of the biggest hurdles in recovering from domestic abuse for me, actually, has been the people pleasing.
Yes. Yes, it's
That is.
definitely something that I'm still on the journey that I'm still on. I'm not saying that I have all the answers at the moment. And those first couple of times where I did set those boundaries, I was laying awake at night going, they hate me. They really hate me now. I said
Yeah.
something they do not like. They hate me now. They're not going to talk to me anymore. And it was just, it is quite a shift in yourself. And you just got to remember that you got to live your life. I got to live my life. And I can't, and you only have one life to live. Your life is short. You could end up in heart surgery. You could end up, in a car crash and unfortunately die. Not knock on wood, but yes, it's just something that is a process, and it's a continuous process. So I'm trying to tell my story of my journey, what I'm going through, and hopefully it will resonate with women, just to have fun and enjoy your life, because we're only here once. Let's enjoy it.
That is a very important motto, and something that I think you live very honestly by saying you only live once, and you're someone that we should take advice from, because you were on the brink. So you know firsthand, you're an expert in that field now in rebuilding your life. Been a huge second chance for you. And definitely the people pleasing, I agree, is it's a journey. I always say healing is not linear, because you can feel on top of the world one moment, and then, next minute you're like, and the anxiety that comes with stopping people pleasing. And also, I feel like it gets worse before it gets better, almost, because when you live people pleasing, you're always in this like constant anxious, what can I do? If I say no, they're going to be upset, all of this stuff. And then you kind of put your foot down, and it gets worse, because like you said, you're
Mm.
laying awake at night, you're like, oh God, I said no. And, and then once you get to the other side, it does feel calmer. It's like, once that switch flips and you live for you while still serving others, it's more grounded, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also trusting your gut as well. Like in
Yes.
instances, it's like I'm panicking up here, but my gut's like, no, say no. It's going to be fine. The day's going to come tomorrow. Everything's going to be fine, and it does, and everything's fine. It's also so just trusting your gut is a really big important step to self care and just not people pleasing anymore. And it's very difficult. I still have my days where my gut's saying, no, it's fine. My head's like, no, it's not. And then and then it's fine. It's like, oh, okay, sweet. And it's just doing it over and over again until you build that confidence in yourself that you are living for yourself.
There's such a fine line too, especially when you're in the pageant community and you're doing so much to serve others. It is so hard to walk that center line. I remember I had an instance, like you said, trust your gut, where I was doing a lot of volunteer work at one point. I was volunteering, I was working my normal job. I was fresh postpartum and I was trying to volunteer in like 3 different capacities. And I remember there was one day that I had a volunteer shift and I was going to give wildlife tours, and I really didn't want to go. My whole everything was screaming at me that I didn't want to go. But I forced myself. I got in my car. I started to drive there, and I just broke down sobbing and like lost it. And my gut was just like, you need to rest. Go home. It was screaming at me. And so I walked back in the door, and my husband's just like, I thought, and I was like, I can't. And I
Don't talk to
had a
me.
full break. Yeah, I was like, I can't go. And he was just like, okay, the world's not going to stop because you didn't give those wildlife tours. You're okay. And he had to talk me off the ledge. But I should have, I was fighting my gut. And people don't talk about how you really shouldn't do that, because it's like your body screams at you almost, and you can't fight it.
Yeah. When your body says no, it's gonna say no. It's definitely gonna say no.
Yes, it slams on those brakes, and you don't have a choice one way or another. Mine was uncontrollable sobbing because my body was just like, no, you're not going to go in public today. But it's funny how the mind does that. What would you say, being a self-care queens unite, what is your favorite form of self-care?
I love going to the theatre and dance and stuff like that. I used to be a performing arts geek. I did it all. I did that, dancing, acting, musical theatre, everything. That's where I wanted to be when I was in school. And
Yep.
not to go into too much details, but because I was a people pleaser back then, I got into a group of people where that did not work out for me and impacted me emotionally and physically. So I pushed all my performing arts to the side. I refused to sing anymore. I refused to go to theatre anymore. Like, it just was wiped away from my existence. And because I'm on that self care journey and because of my surgery, I was like, what do I love? What do I love? And I loved all my music, all my singing, my dancing, theatre. And so I am now reincorporating it back into my life. So I'm going to the ballet in a week or so, and then I'm going to the theatre again. And it's such a wonderful feeling to have it back in my life. And just having it back is like, I love this. It speaks to my soul. So I'm going to constantly do it and don't let the past affect what I have now.
That is such a huge step in your healing journey. I
Mm.
feel like being able to take that part of yourself back is huge. What is your favorite musical theater piece?
I am a sucker for Phantom of the Opera. That
Yes.
I was dreaming of being Christine Daae on the stage. That was my goal. It's not my goal anymore, but I love it still. And Wicked is a close second. So Phantom of the Opera will always remain true and loyal and love in my heart. And Wicked is a close second. So they're my top two.
I love that. A couple episodes ago was talking to, her name is Chloe May Page, but her whole platform is about making theater accessible for those with disabilities, because she has a physical disability. And we talked a good bit about Wicked on her segment, actually, because we are both Wicked girlies. So I love Wicked as well. Wicked, Phantom of the Opera is another one for me for sure. And also Moulin Rouge is definitely getting up there for me too. I'm supposed to see that in March, and I'm excited because
Have
I
you seen it
love theater
before?
as well. I have not. I've seen the movie, but I
Oh,
have not
okay.
seen the
Yeah.
stage show.
Yeah. You're in for a treat. You're in for a treat.
Yay! That makes my heart happy. Theater nerds unite. I love that there's so many of us that are, especially in pageantry too. I feel like it's very parallel, because if you've got performing arts in you, pageantry is kind of perfect, because it's a performing art in itself, I would
Yeah.
argue. But
Yeah.
also, I really think you need to be Christine on a stage for talent, ma'am. I better see you singing Phantom of the Opera on stage for your talent.
Well, unfortunately, there's no talent, but that yes, I know. But the part of Christine Day is very technical, and I feel like I'm
Yes, it is.
not up to the standard. I love it, and I was getting there, but
I
it
think
was
it's
something that I
funny
wanted.
too, because when you're younger, I know I was a very high soprano when I was younger, and I could hit those Christine
Mm.
parts like butter in school. And then I became an adult, and it was not kind to my vocal cord.
It's like exercise, isn't it? Like if you don't upkeep your vocals and if you don't train every day, you're gonna lose it. And I feel like that's what happened to me. Like yes, I was able to hit all those Christine Day high notes and everything. Not anymore. Not anymore. Don't ask me to do it because I won't be able to do it anymore.
They don't talk about that enough, though, because when you're younger, you think you'll be able to hit those notes forever, and then you take a break from singing. I did something very similar, and I had a teacher that I loathed, and so I stopped singing for a little while. And once you stop singing and try and go back to it, it doesn't matter how talented you used to be. It's not like riding a bike.
No, it's not. But I'm more than happy to sit in the seats and just enjoy it and soak it in. So I'm very content with that part of how that part of my theatre world has changed. From performance
Well,
to
I'm so
spectator, I'm
excited that
happy.
you're I'm so excited that you're going back to it though, because I feel like that says so much about your healing journey, that was robbed from you by someone else during, your people pleasing era. And now you're going to sit in those seats and enjoy the arts again. And that is so incredibly powerful. And I think it's one of the best parts about recovering from those types of things is taking back those small things.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. It's like
That's
I don't want to end up in hospital again without having reconnected with my musical roots. And it was just being back in that theatre. I believe I saw the ballet. Well, the first show that I saw was Ballet Sleeping Beauty, and I was in there, and I couldn't help but get emotional while I was watching it, seeing there. 'Cause this is actually so nice. I'm not looking over my shoulder to find people who I used to hang out with or didn't have that flight or fight mode in me. So it was just a very emotional performance that I saw, and it was just incredible.
That's amazing that that's such a part of your healing journey. That is the best feeling. It really is when you reconnect with the love of something like that. That's part of honestly why my walls in my studio are rainbow was I wasn't allowed during my abuse journey. I've always loved rainbows. Like since I was wee tiny toddler, I was obsessed with rainbows. I would always like Lisa Frank. I don't know if Australia had Lisa Frank. Does Australia have Lisa Frank?
I'm not aware. If they could, but I'm not aware.
Okay.
Then it doesn't
Girlfriends,
ring a
you've
bell
got
for
to
me.
Google Lisa Frank when we get
Lisa
off of
Frank.
this call.
Okay.
Lisa Frank, because when you see Lisa Frank, you'll understand that reference. But I grew up obsessed with Lisa Frank and everything rainbows, and my ex was anti rainbows. He was just loathed them. Like I could not have rainbows in the house. And so one of the first things I did when I moved into this house was I painted this wall rainbow. And I have like all of my books in my library are color coded rainbow. And my poor husband now, he's so used to me that like he's not phased by rainbows all over his house. But so much so that he actually just built a step stool for our daughter to get up to her chair on her own. And he was like, "What color should I paint it?" I was thinking of painting it white. And I was like, "Paint it rainbow." And he was like, "Okay."
Why was that even a question?
Right? I'm like, "We have the paint cans from this wall. Paint the stairs rainbow." And he was like, "I can do that." I love to kind of close out the episodes with hearing if Lisa was going to leave a legacy statement. So, Lisa Bennett, you are leaving your legacy statement. This is what the world is going to know you by. And this is the message that you're leaving. What is your legacy statement or your legacy thought that you want people to remember you for?
I would love to inspire women to love themselves enough to be confidently them. And you've only got one life to live it for you and be happy, be humble, and just give love. Give all the love in the world. If you have a loving heart, then if everyone had a loving heart, the world would be a beautiful place.
That is one of the best legacy statements I think I've heard. I may be biased, but I think that was fantastic. If you could name an honorary second chance queen that is not myself, because I am the official and the OG, but if you could name any celebrity, musician, anybody at all to be an honorary second chance queen, who would you add to my squad?
Can we do any time in history? Any person in history? This is going to come to no surprise to some people, but I would like to name Anne Boleyn, Queen Anne Boleyn.
I love it.
She was also who gave me a second chance before pre-pageants. She is the love of my life. She is right there in that photo, actually. And I have a tattoo on my arm. So she's another light in my life. She's another light in my life. And I think she definitely stands for being a second chance queen, because when she was alive, she was accused of such horrible things and she was executed for it. And now over the years, historians have seen her in a positive, more positive light. And all the stuff that she was accused of is highly, highly unlikely that she did it. So throughout the years, people have gone from hating her to absolutely loving her. And I think she embodies the second chance queen in how she is remembered today.
I'm so excited. I think that is the first historical figure that has been named as a second chance queen. So I am super honored to invite her to the squad.
It's been such a wonderful time, and I was so glad that I got to jump on board with you and then chat with you. I was really looking forward to it, and it has exceeded my expectations.
Thank you. I am super happy to have you. I'm super stoked because you're my first international guest, and I am over the moon. I just found out today, we were streamed in 6 countries. I just found out today that the podcast has gone to 7 countries now, but you are my first international guest, and so you will forever hold that title. So you get to add that to your resume. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight's episode of the Second Chance Queen podcast. It was an absolute honor to have Lisa tonight, who is the first ever Ms Universal Petite Australia 2025. And I am over the moon to have her tonight. I love talking about self-care. I love talking about the petite system and the challenges that she's faced in her life and what she's overcome since her open heart surgery. I think using her message from her surgery to then spread confidence is incredibly bold and empowering. And I am forever rooting for you, Lisa. I hope that you have the best time at Petite this summer and bring home an international crown, and I will be supporting you in everything you do. So I hope all of you will follow along on Lisa's journey to this summer competing for an international title with the Petite system. And I am so grateful for all of the conversation that I had with her tonight. I hope you love Lisa as much as I do. I love getting to interview women, and they start as strangers and leave as friends. And it is an honor and a privilege to meet these incredible women. I'm your second chance queen, Kristianna Mrjenovich. And remember, you always have a second chance. You just have to be willing to take it.